Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. This is the tragic, horrific quadruple murders that took place in Idaho, Moscow on the 13th of November 2022. Mezana, Eaton, Kaylee, and Madison, rest in peace. Condolence to their families, and may the correct justice be served. On the 13th of November 2022, at 11:58 in the morning, Moscow police got a call. The 911 operator got a call that there was an unconscious person. When they came to the scene, there were many people standing outside. They all looked shocked. The police officer made his way inside the house. He went to the second floor. He found two deceased people, may the rest in peace. That was Zana and Eaton. We have heard different explanations of where Eaton was found. We heard that he was found on the floor in between the hallway and Zana's room. We have also heard that Eaton was found on the bed. The police officers went upstairs and they discovered two other students deceased. That was Madison Morgan and Kaylee Congavs. They both were sleeping in a bed in Madison's bed. This whole situation, this horrific crime, shocked the college and later on the whole nation and then the world. A vandal alert was put out for all the students to shelter in place. Obviously, because the college did not know what they were dealing with. They asked people to shelter in their place at the houses, not to come outside, and not to even stand near the windows. The police said immediately that this was a targeted incident, but they did not know who were the targets or if the resident itself was the target. What is so sad is it took 8 hours for the police to get this horrific 911 call. The murders happened somewhere at the start. In the beginning, we were told it happened between 3 to 4 a.m. The police said it was a targeted incident. They did not know who the targets were. The mayor himself said that this was a crime of passion. So obviously I can imagine all the students who were there were traumatized. Many of them knew the victims. In the beginning, they did not know what they were dealing with. I remember a young man who goes to the college. In the beginning of this case, he was talking on TikTok, and he said that when he got this alert, before he even got the alert, he said before 9 a.m. in the morning, he said, my phone wouldn't stop going like off from social media. It was getting all kind of alerts. And then it was said that the party house, that something happened. This was his exact words. So he said that he meant by party house by that there was drugs in the house although I hate to say that. And there was obviously a lot of parties going on. So he said immediately he thought that there was rumors going around that the victims got a bad batch of drugs, that something was laced in, maybe like fentanyl. So they did not know what to think about it. We heard even Kaylee, his mother, saying that she got a phone call from a family member, I believe Kaylee, his cousin or something, saying that Kaylee has been shot in a party. So nobody knew actually what was going on. But what is sad and what is shocking is that other students knew it before the police. So that is a big red flag. If you look at it that way, obviously you have to ask yourself, how come all these students knew about it before the police? After the crime scene was basically under control, the police called the detectives of Idaho. They came around 4 a.m. The coroner herself came between 5 to 5:30 because she said she wasn't let in by the police. But the way the coroner described it is she said it was a horrific crime scene. She said that clearly it was really bloody, trigger warning. So I would assume that there was blood everywhere, on the walls, on the beds, everywhere. To start with, this is for entertainment purpose only. So the way things happened basically was that the two surviving roommates, I don't know actually if I could call them surviving roommates. Yes, they survived and they're roommates. But when you look deeper into the word, the police said that when they were asked by the reporters, especially one reporter from Fox News Digital asked a good question. She said, the witnesses that were there, immediately the police officer corrected her. He said, I didn't say that they were witnesses. They were just there. Now, words are very powerful. What you say is what the public and the other students are going to go on with. So I believe from the very start, the mistake that happened is that the police should have definitely had a press leader to talk, a press agent to talk on behalf of the police, because they're trained and skilled in what not to say and what to say. Because they have to keep the case close to the chest, but what they say to the public can cause rumors, speculations, and such things. So the police said that they're not witness. He said they were just there. My thoughts go out to the surviving roommates, because as young students too, they witnessed a horrific murder. Question is, what did they see and what they did not see is something we may never find out. But since they were the ones who called the Sigma Chi boys, which is a red flag for me, because once you see that they're, just say even they saw Xana and Ethan, I find that hard to believe that they did not know that it was a crime scene. Because the first officer who came there, Mr. Gunderson, said clearly that the place was smelling a strong smell of blood. So once you hear that, you automatically know that if the police officer said that, and if that is what he smelled, he said that on the Airmail article, which I put up 2 days ago, That would say common sense that the police, if the police smelt it, you don't have to be a professional to smell blood. That means the surviving roommates smelt it too. I'm sure that Dylan, DM, and BF, especially DM, since she lives in the second floor, must have needed to go to the toilet. 8 hours, you would have needed to go to the toilet. She would have needed to get maybe a glass of water. So I don't understand how come she couldn't smell the smell. We've even heard that DM, while the unlivings were going on, she opened the door and she yelled out to her roommates, "Keep it down. I'm trying to sleep here." That means she heard a lot of commotion going on. Now, thank God we haven't witnessed people being unlived in front of us, most of us. But when you are in such a scene, or when you're even in your room and you hear domestic violence, example, going on, you can literally hear, if it's an aggressive fight or something, you will hear things being knocked off, whether it's lamps, whether it's yelling, whether it's screaming. And let's be serious here and think about the fact that a knife, trigger warning, is a very intimate thing. The damage the knife causes, what is worse is the pain you will feel. This was brutal attacks, brutal murders, so within all that pain the people who are being stabbed are going through, I'm sure they were yelling, unless they were sleeping and somebody put a pillow on their head, because you have to look at it in all different ways, not to be biased. We know that Kaylee and Xana had defensive wounds. They fought for their life. Now let's not forget, Xana has written the affidavit, I believe, that her fingers were almost, basically, cut off while she was trying to grab the knife. Now you can imagine how much Xana must have been yelling in pain. She was fighting back, so I'm sure things were falling. The yelling, screaming, all of them could have been happening. And let's not forget that DM lives in the second floor too, with Xana. So I couldn't understand how come she did not hear that. She even told the girls, "Keep it down, I'm trying to sleep." She must have thought it was a party. Now let's think about another thing. This, whether I like to say it or not, this was a party house. So that means there was different kind of students coming to party there. It couldn't have been teachers and staff and adults coming there. It was students, their age. So I'm sure it was fraternity boys and sorority girls, and all these people were coming to party there. So I believe that whoever came must have known the girls, known the victims well, since it was a targeted attack. And since the Sigma Chi boys, the fraternity, we are aware that Xana and Ethan, the couple, were in Sigma Chi that night, and a fight broke out between Ethan and David Lodge, I believe, allegedly, with the Davids and the other one, Barry, I believe his name was. Ethan called David a steroid head or roids head, and we know the symptoms of steroids can be aggressive. It's a dangerous thing to use, especially these are students. Let's not forget, in mental health, it's a known fact scientifically, a person's brain develops at around the age of 26 to 27. The full development process is around that time. So these are young students, 20, 21 years old. The decisions won't be completely right. We can't judge them for that. But I believe these students being young and like David Lodge allegedly using steroids will have serious consequences. Now, if Eaton had said that in a party in front of other girls, this is obviously going to do something with David Lodge's self-esteem. So the question is, how far did he take it? That is something we need to keep in mind. Because the Sigma Chi boys were under investigation, the news clearly used the word that they were under a microscope. Now, we know how microscope, once you're under a microscope, that means they're scrutinizing your life inside and out. That brings me to the 4chan post. Not many people believe in the 4chan post, but I really believe that there's something there, is because the way it was predicted that they were going to do the crimes is kind of what happened. I'm not saying that it is exactly what happened, but that is the only place I can see a serious motive coming in from. In the 4chan post, it was said that things were brewing up between these people. They had 3 targets. The targets that they had was Eaton, Xana, and Maddie. Maddie, apparently, the Davids did not like her. She was rude and whatever to them. And these 2 boys, the couple was a bit different, because the couple, it seemed like there were other issues going on. For example, one of these Davids was, David Berry, I believe, was the tutor for Eaton. And things were brewing up there. Then you have the other one who likes Xana, and that becomes jealousy, obviously. So I think they wanted to be done maybe with the couple and Maddie, like they said, or maybe it was about Eaton to start with. And things just went to another dimension. We've seen Christopher McDonald from the interview room clearly checked. He's an officer with the police force in San Diego. He's worked many years there, I believe over 25 years. And he's the founder of the Cold Case Foundation, which I think is brilliant. And he discussed that he analyzed the body cam of the famous body cam of the miners, the alcohol stop of the miners. And Chris said himself, he showed us that you could hear a girl screaming, "Stop it, stop." He did not know if the sound was coming from the Sigma Chi field, if it was coming from Kings Road, the victim's house, but it was coming from somewhere. Or, allegedly, this is just a speculation, it could have been right outside the house even, or in front of Queen's house, but Queen's Road. He clearly heard that, and you can clearly hear that. Stop it. So was the scream boys and girls just joking around, pushing each other around or something? Or was it more sinister? I would say that it had to be more deeper than that, because we have to look at the timeline that these things are happening. Coincidentally, that was the timeline that was said that the quadruple murders took place. But then everything changed after that. When the law enforcement caught Brian Christopher Koberger for this crime that he allegedly committed, the reason I say allegedly, I've always said, is no one is guilty until proven guilty. And it doesn't look like they have, I'm sure they have evidence, but it doesn't look like they have a ton of evidence connecting him to this crime. So all that screaming sounds like it could have been coming from a certain place. It could have been coming from the victims. It's a girl yelling. Then we have these three guys in the Sigma Chi, near the Sigma Chi. At 3:01, somebody called the police. So I think it's related to the minor alcohol stop. And if that is the case, I wonder who called the police on them. Maybe was it to distract the police so that they can go to these boys while the quadruple murders were happening. Anything is possible. What I noticed, which was in the beginning of this case, is there was a lot of rumors going around. That's why the police had to make a rumor mill control. People were saying that the students were gagged, they were tied up. Some people were saying that it was an overdose. Some people were saying that this happened much earlier during the night. We would never know. Because I personally believe for the 6 weeks in the beginning of the case, the police said clearly that this was a targeted attack. And they said that this happened between 3 to 4. The reason I talk a lot about the beginning of the case is because I believe the truth lies always in the beginning. I've always said that. It does definitely lie in the beginning. I don't believe that this crime happened between 4 to 4:25. I believe that they are saying that it happened between 4 to 4:25 because of Brian Christopher Kohlberger's phone pinging around that area, and maybe his car driving around that area. We don't even know if it's his car. They're over 24,000 white Hyundai Elantras. So unless they have something more, they would definitely know, and they will show that in the court, which is starting, I believe, on the 28th of this month. So it'll be interesting to find out what they have. But right now, I feel like they don't have enough evidence, because why would they be searching after 10 months, asking Amazon, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, all these places, Instagram and all that, to give them the accounts of, we don't know if it's the victims or if it's Brian Christopher. I believe it's Brian Christopher Kohlberger most likely. But isn't this supposed to be done much earlier? Like, we are almost, in case you haven't noticed it, today is the 15th. Give it another month and it's a year since the quadruple murders happened. May the students rest in peace. So I believe something happened for them to have changed the whole timeline, unless they got other evidence. I'm not saying that this is a cover-up, but I'm saying it's now making sense, and it makes more sense if we go to the timeline in the beginning. What is very interesting is I put up a clip yesterday that you all must have definitely seen. You'll see the big truck, the black truck that is passing. And to start with, I'm quite good in apologizing if I'm wrong, but I shouldn't be apologizing for everything. But I said a black SUV instead of a truck. My bad. But some people on the comment section was a bit too harsh about it. And not everyone's perfect, just to let you all know. People make mistakes, but if you all make a big deal of the small mistake, that means you all are missing the most important part. And that is to get justice for these 4 students and to get the correct person who did this horrific crime out of the streets. Some people are caught up by saying, have made up their mind already by saying, no, it's Brian Christopher Kohlberger that has done it and they have enough evidence and such things. I don't believe in that. Nobody's guilty until proven guilty. I've watched people on YouTube sitting and diagnosing and sitting and analyzing Brian Kohlberger. That is a bit out of order too. That is a bit amateur. Because according to what we see, Brian Kohlberger hasn't been diagnosed with any mental health illnesses. He could have been suffering of depression or anxiety or whatsoever, but that is not something like we're expecting him to. I've seen many people loosely calling him a psychopath. To start with, I always correct people in that part. As a mental health counselor, as a licensed mental health counselor, I really do not like the word psychopath when people use psychopath, because it is a mental health illness and it's called antisocial personality disorder. It's a personality disorder. If many people have used that term on him, and I would like to give them examples. To start with, Brian Christopher Koberger has never had a criminal record, besides robbing his sister's mobile device, her phone, and selling it off. I would take that as a family incident. Another thing, brothers and sisters, siblings always fight, siblings always do things to each other. That doesn't necessarily mean they're antisocial personality or disorder for that. I understand he robbed his sister's phone and he sold it so he could have used heroin, trigger warning, and that is a drug issue. The drug issue could have caused them into further mental health issues. But in this case, the way I see it, I don't think Brian Koberger, and I'm not defending him, I do not believe that he has serious mental health illnesses. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been a teacher. He was not only a student, he was a teacher. And obviously, once you're put in under a microscope, the world is going to sit and analyze you and think you're this and that. But as a professional mental health counselor, I believe we need to wait for the facts to come, because maybe it wasn't this guy who even did it. So let me get back to the point. Koberger hasn't had a criminal offense. He's never been to prison or jail. Koberger, in the states that he lived in, Pennsylvania, they checked around those whole areas a couple of months to see if any cold cases was related to him. Nothing was related to him. So that just proves to you that he is not an antisocial personality disorder person. Yes, he had drug addiction. Yes, he stopped using drug. In fact, that is encouragement for him, that he stopped. He went from his bachelor in psychology to criminology in master's, and he was doing his PhD in crime and justice. What I see is an educated man. I don't know if he got back into drugs. That could be possible, because at times I think to myself, what could be the connections that connect Koberger to 1122 Kings Road? Steve Congaves spoke on the 48 Hours and he said, I think he came in with a kill kit. I don't believe that. I'm sure he got the words from other professionals on TV was talking about it. But no, this man wouldn't have come with a kill kit, I personally believe, because this is a man who studied under one of the best teachers, professors, Dr. Ramsley, and she said that he was one of her best students, so he would know how to deal with a crime scene. I know people make mistakes, but just say if it was Koberger who did that, are people trying to tell us he left the knife sheath there as a signature like, hey, Koberger did this, I was here, come and get me? We're not playing a movie show here. This ain't no Netflix movie. I think that if he did it, then he left it there by mistake. I've heard people saying, oh, he was so arrogant. I've heard professionals saying that. That's what they do. He wouldn't have done it that way. Why would somebody clean up so well in the crime scene, make sure no blood was there, no trace to come back to him, but then, whoops, he forgot his leather night shirt? I don't buy that. Honestly, personally, I don't buy that, because I believe that it could have been possible that it was somebody else who committed this crime. There's no motive connecting him here. Nothing was found. Nothing was robbed in the house. You can clearly see his blood even wasn't found. If they were so sure that Brian Christopher Koberger did this crime, then why do they need to chase after genealogical DNA? That doesn't make sense to me. They would have given in their work, their roadmap about how they came to this decision that it was Koberger who did it. Make it make sense. When it makes sense, I'm a very fair person. I'm a fair person, but what I like is bring me the homework. Show me. Make it add. Like if you're going to do an exam, the teacher expects you, the professor expects you to show how you came. Like just say you got an essay or you got a piece of work to do and you did it. The teacher has every right to ask you, I'm starting to understand this, but I need you to explain how you came to this answer. Maybe to find out that you weren't cheating. So this is what I believe happened in this case. I'm not putting anyone down, but I believe the prosecution, the FBI, whoever took this genealogical test must have done it illegally. They must have done it in a way they weren't supposed to do it. And that is why they just want it to be Brian Koberger. And it doesn't work that way. I've always said it's not going to be an open and shut case. They need to show us the roadmap, the homework. How did y'all find out that it was Brian Koberger who did it? Because we can't see any connections, any motivations. Even when it said that Brian Koberger was following Maddie and Kaylee on Instagram, if you go around and check, right after Brian Christopher Koberger was arrested, a lot of people started making fake profiles of him. So that wouldn't be right either. If he's not there to have his own voice and he's arrested, people can do, there are trolls everywhere who does things. It could have been the real killers that did this that were framing it on him. And that's exactly what I believe that happened. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I really believe that Brian Koberger knows one of the two surviving roommates. Somebody was informing him something. Somebody asked him to come. We don't even know. He could have gone back to drugs or something and they could have promised him something. That's why he came. And already I believe the unlivings had already happened before Koberger came to the scene. We have never seen Brian Koberger get out of his car, physically go to the house. We don't have to see him unliving people, but show us him walking into the house. They're not showing it because it didn't happen. That's what I personally believe. Coming back to the Sigma Chi boys, I always say them because I believe they have more motives. They had more motives than Brian. They have already predicted it in the 4chan, how they were going to do it. Makes sense in the article. The grub truck boys, the boys who were standing there, everyone was up to no good if you ask me. Most of them. The people who were up to good, who were innocent, were the people who were buying the food and just leaving the place. Or standing there for a while eating and then leaving. You had some people that were up to no good like Joe, Vito, flashing the Coca-Cola can. Don't know if he had a camera, don't know what he had in that can, but it wasn't normal. You had John Shawalter, who already said on the way there, when Kaylee said, Maddie, what did you say to Adam? And Maddie said, I told Adam everything. What is everything? Did Adam go and tell Jack whatever? Just say, I was thinking about it recently. What if Maddie told Adam that Kaylee's leaving and she is so tired of Jack D, she's not going to let him see her or the dog when she moves. Example. And let's say Jack D is sick in love with Kaylee. That's his childhood sweetheart for 4 or 5 years. I don't know why they say 5, 6 years, because that's a lie. They broke up in 2020. You can see that he's following Kaylee on Instagram, but she ain't following him. He's even putting in messages like, I love you. She's ignoring him. Maybe his whole life went upside down when he heard that Sid Cayley is taking Murphy and she's leaving me for good. So maybe he thought there was hope for them and something happened. I've heard many people saying, which is fair. Steve Congal said that he doesn't believe it was Jack D because they checked his chest and they checked, he pulled up his t-shirt and they saw that he didn't have any marks in his body and all. I don't buy that. I personally don't buy that because you can buy a hazard suit, go do it. You can make sure you buy yourself a outfit that's made of, what's it called? The protection so that you don't cut yourself or injure yourself in the process. He could have done that, or he could have allegedly, I'm speculating, he could have got someone to do it for him. He knows the password of the house. I'm sure John Showalter knows that too. He could have done it. If you ask me, when people say that Brian Koberger is a psychopath, I hate to use that word, antisocial personality disorder, I would be looking more into John Showalter as an antisocial personality disorder than Brian Koberger, because he was going and throwing dead animals, trigger warning, coyotes and all, in front of the sororities' houses. That's why he got kicked out of the fraternity to start with. I have heard one person saying in a certain platform, although she's not a YouTube creator, insisting and saying that no, John Showalter is innocent and he didn't harass the girls and he was like this and like that. No, my dear. That's not how it works. This guy got kicked out of the fraternity for essay. He was harassing females. The day that the girls were in the corner club, he was harassing either the two girls, which everybody in the college actually said he was harassing the two girls. People who were witnesses that said that in the beginning, that he had to get thrown out because of that. And some people say that he was harassing other girls. I'll tell you why I believe he was harassing Kaylee and Maddie. Because if you notice when they were walking and talking, the little bit we saw, of what did he say to Adam, pay attention to how Kaylee and Maddie are talking to each other. It's like he doesn't even exist. And then they came to the grub truck and they ignored him blatantly. They didn't even take energy to ignore the guy. And then you clearly see that John Showalter, that the girls are completely ignoring him. He walks away. They walk away more like from him and they leave him. They ditched him there. You see him going straight and then he's going to the right. A car is blinking. You'll need to pay attention. Many people say, I don't see a car. The thing is, I can't explain to everyone what I see because I do it on my clips, but then it's up to you all to be observant. Take a break every second when you're watching the grub truck. Take a notebook and a pen and write down what you see, because there's a lot you will catch on to. So what I'm trying to say is that they left him, they ditched him there. And the funny thing is, imagine you ditching someone. He could have been the stalker Kaylee was talking about. And guess what? He lives only 1 minute away from you. That is scary. Then they have Jack D, who lives 2 minutes away from them. The girls were surrounded by a lot of enemies. The house, I can't talk much about it because I prefer not to talk about it. Whether drugs were being sold there or whether it was stored there or whether money was stored there or whether drugs had no involvement in this. This was a party house. I believe whatever happened that night was two separate attacks. And I explain to you why. I believe one attack was from the Sigma Chi for the couple, because they already predicted how they're going to do it within 19 minutes. We saw 5 figures running. We see 4 over here in front of the police in the minor alcohol store. Stop. We hear a girl yelling, stop, stop it, or stop it, stop. We saw allegedly Maddie is long black jacket. I heard she borrowed it from Jack D. Whoever she borrowed it from, I don't think Maddie would just take off the jacket and chuck it in the bushes. I think something happened that maybe the fight started from outside, so that she had to defend her life. The three boys refused to stop for the police. The undercover police, Saeed, stopped for the police. The three guys refused to stop. The police had to run to them with their torch, stop them, and imagine that the audacity to tell the police, "Oh, we thought y'all were false police." I've never seen a stop like this in any country in my life, honestly. I've never seen a stop where you can joke around with the police, where the police actually ran after you and you refused to stop. That immediately calls for arrest. If it was the UK, you would have not only been arrested, they would have started by checking your pockets. They would have started by calling backup and checking to see if you threw anything in the field itself. And then they would have wanted to know each and every detail, which house he came from. They were asked, and the boys turned around and said, "Oh, I can't remember." The other one said, "Oh, it was somewhere up there." Then they asked, "Do you remember we came from a party? Do you remember whose party it was?" "No." One said, "I can't remember." The other one said, "No." And then the third one said, "I think his name was Matt." The police should have clocked on that these boys are up to no good. I would have been, if you have officer doing your duty, you would want to know exactly where they came from and why they're lying. Once you start lying, there's something up that you're hiding. You're covering up something. The police let these boys go easily. They were even discussing what cars the police drive, and the police officers say, "Oh, we drive hybrids now. We are trying to save the budget and all." They make you save the budget. And imagine the next day, the quadruple murders happen. Why did it take 8 hours to call the police? Is a very important question. Was there cleanup going on? I can't help but to ask. What did Dylan and BF know? Were they told to keep quiet? The parties that were going on in this house all the time and the police came. Why didn't the police shut down these parties? Why didn't they report these students to the dean of the university? I know somebody wrote it even in the comments saying, "Yeah, because in this country, in the United States of America, we have rights and nobody can just come into our house." No. We have rights everywhere in the world. But over here in Europe and especially in the UK, if the police see that your house is full of complaints, the police will take action. And especially when they see that everyone there is partying, drinking, and that there could be drugs involved, they would have got a warrant and come and check the house. They would have called the bigger boys to come and check if there was illegal substance going on. They would have got a canine to come inside, and maybe they should have done that, because then at least the students would have still been alive and we wouldn't be having this discussion. It's very sad. I wish things were different. The surviving roommates, I don't buy their stories. If they're lying, it's a felony. They should be arrested, honestly. But I don't believe that's going to happen, because this cover-up or whatever is going on is going really fine in their way. Unless Ann Taylor decides to bring these witnesses, the surviving roommates, on the stand. And I don't think they will try to avoid that too, since this is a death penalty case, and since they've already made up their mind that BK has done it. But that is unfair, because if he hasn't done it, and if he's being set up, he deserves his justice. One thing I won't lie about BK is I want to know why he was there. His alibi sucks. So he wouldn't have been saying this alibi to defend someone. His whole life is on the line. So it doesn't make sense. But then maybe he's doing this to buy time so that the real case can open up. Who are the others that he meant by others arrested? Some people say he didn't say that, but that was what we are told by Brian Enton. We don't know what's true, what's false. Maybe he's innocent, maybe he's guilty. But what connects BK to this crime, let's not forget, is not only the knife sheet. His phone pinged in certain areas. And if that is the truth, because the police will have to show that in court, then BK's got a serious problem to answer for. If BK did these crimes, was he a hitman? Possible. Working for someone, did someone rent him to do it and clean up the scene? Possible. Were the surviving roommates involved? Possible. Because I'm getting tired of this nonsense when people are saying, oh, don't say anything about DM or BF, they are witnesses. And guess what? The police, Mr. Chief Fry said himself, they are not witnesses, they were there. That shows that the chief doesn't trust you himself. Then we saw, the last thing I wanted to touch on is we saw, what's her name? We saw the black truck, the SUV driving there, right when the alcohol police thing was going on. And we've seen that truck with Dylan taking pictures with that truck. I heard it's her truck. Some people say it was a boyfriend Quinn's, but I've checked, I've researched it. He doesn't have that car. He has a smaller car, smaller sedan vehicle, a four-door vehicle, but it's not a truck. My question is, if it's DM's truck, what was he doing there? It was 1:03. Did she run away because she saw what was happening, which is a crime too? Was she involved and then she left? A crime too? Who are the 4 or 5 figures running? I'm sure DM and BF saw them and they could have answered that. Did someone come from the grub truck? I really believe the 2 Jacks could be very involved with Maddie and Kaylee's unliving. And I believe the couple, Ethan and Xana, was from the Sigma Chi. That's why the Sigma Chi were people of interest. They were being investigated. Both the Jacks were being investigated. Adam has nothing to do with them, according to them. I believe Adam did his share. He went and spread the rumor to whoever he was spreading. And let's find out what exactly happened. Justice to the 4 victims, condolence to their families. May justice be correctly served. And I love the fact that Steve Congavs said that he's not sure if BF did it, because he can see that there's something wrong. Any person who is not biased, who likes to ask questions, who really wants proper justice to be served, would be asking the questions that my subscribers ask, that many people on YouTube ask, the public ask, and that I ask. I don't think it's right to give someone a death penalty, capital murder, if they haven't done it. Just because you're driving a white Hyundai and because the knife sheet had a touch DNA. Touch DNA could come from somebody borrowing my jumper and taking it to somebody else's house. And it could just go like that, from a scarf to any small thing. We don't know if Brian Koberger has actually visited this house. Maybe he was dating one of the roommates, the surviving roommates. Maybe he was dating one of the victims. We wouldn't know, because they're not here to talk. And the 2 surviving roommates ain't saying much themselves. And we can see that DM, his father, is upset. Of course, that's his daughter. Nobody wants their child to be attacked or attacked by social media. But the thing is, what he doesn't understand is there are trolls around. But in our case, we're just asking. So if you don't like us asking, then they better book us in. Because we are going to ask questions with being mindful. And the last thing, I keep on saying the last thing, but this is one thing I don't find right is WSU, was it Kim? Kim is a witness. I don't think she should be attacked, because then we won't have any witnesses telling us things. Don't forget, it's been 10 months, and as a mental health counselor, I know that you can forget things, you can add things, you can minus things, you can subtract things. But it doesn't mean that her daughter did not witness what she witnessed. Her daughter knew it firsthand. She told Kim, that becomes secondhand. And I personally don't notice that Kim has changed a lot of her stories. I listen, I do my active listening really well. And I feel like she gets attacked in many panels, many channels, and we need to stop doing that, because we are here to spread awareness. We are here to find justice for the victims. We don't want to make other people victims. That is not right. So whether it's Kim, whether it's, what was the other woman's name? Dorothy, I think? Dot? All of them, I just think that people call them trolls, people spread the word around, and then it doesn't make sense. Because I was watching recently when Kim was talking, and another YouTube creator on the panel was saying, oh, you know what, let me get so-and-so that creator, because Kim gets scared of her. Nobody gets scared of anyone here. People have freedom of speech. If Kim wants to talk, let her talk. But Kim, if you're ever here, my YouTube contents, I would advise you to be more straightforward, because I really believe in you. I believe a lot in your story, but I believe there's a bit mix up there. So when you're not sure, make sure you tell people you're sure, unsure. And when she said that I've sent my information to Diego, I believe, True Crime Diego's channel, I hope I pronounced his name right. I do understand that he said that she did not send me all the evidence, but what we need to understand is this woman has spoken to the FBI. And when she said in the panel, when they asked her, are you going to give us what you have? She said no. People, we shouldn't be upset as YouTube creators, because we are YouTube creators. Whether we are mental health counselors, whether we have a work, whether we don't have a job, whether we are lawyers, we are not entitled to that information. That information goes to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So let's stop playing Columbo and Kojak, because we're not going to go far with that. Let the witness talk. Because when the witness talks, Kim wants the same that we want. We want justice for these 4 victims. Guys, please have a lovely one. Take care. This is for entertainment purpose only. I want to thank my new subscribers, my old subscribers. Most of y'all are just sweethearts. Y'all are good to me. Y'all are kind. Y'all are mindful. And I really appreciate each and everyone who subscribes to me. Sometimes you do not have the same opinion, but I love my channel because we can agree to disagree with mindfulness. And when people say that, oh, the surviving roommates are witness and are victims, and we shouldn't mention them, they could be victims. I really believe that. And we have to be nice to everyone. But the 4 victims are Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and Madison. I'm here for what happened to those 4. And I want to know what these 2 know, so that they can make it easier for us to get justice. Stay blessed. Have a nice one.